Hello and welcome to This Inspired Life. My name is Andy Taylor, and in this video we're talking about the number one thing that the most successful people in the world focus on, that will help you when you do this too, will help you realize so much more of your potential, and it will help you enter the flow state. That is where everything seems to work perfectly for you, so much quicker, so much easier, and so much more often. That one thing is the importance of self-care. Now, what the most successful people realize, which hopefully this video is going to help you to realize too, is the fact that, number one, self-care is not selfish. Looking after yourself is not something that you should feel guilty about. It's not something you should feel ashamed of. Especially as most people will tend to be doing right now with everything that's going on in the world kind of mentality. They feel that it's bad that they're looking out for, number one, they're looking out for themselves. They feel like it's selfish. They feel like they should be worrying about the state of the country that they're in, whether it's USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the UK, anywhere in Europe, anywhere in the world. There's a tendency for a lot of people to be of the opinion, because it's socially programmed, that the group comes first. No, absolutely not. Because what happens when you adopt that mentality is the fact that you will be affected much more deeply by what's going on in the world around you. And what that does is that as much as it's great to be empathic, and much as it's great to be, and it's a really worthwhile thing if you are concerned about your fellow man. Love that. I am too. But I realize something that the most successful people realize too, which is the fact that you can't do anything about it, anything to elicit change in the world, if you yourself are fundamentally unhappy, or you're fundamentally overwhelmed or stressed or anxious about what's going on. When you realize that by focusing on looking after you first, you are automatically going to be in a much better place to be able to help other people, and to be able to help promote causes, to push causes forward, to help them grow and develop awareness in communities, in societies, in countries, and in the world at large. So that's the most important lesson from today. It's quite simple. I mean, we're not far into the video, but that's the message for today, is the fact that self-care is not selfish. It is the most important thing you can do, because it sets you up then to be more effective, to be more efficient, to be more able to elicit the change that you want. There's an old saying, be the change you want to see in the world. Absolutely the case here, because when you are in a situation where you are looking after yourself, you're listening to your body, you're listening to your mind, when it's telling you, I'm so tired, I really can't, or I'm so, I just don't feel well, I feel uneasy about something. Listen to those messages, because they're important. If you're doing something that you feel forced into doing, then you're not going to give your all. Number one, that's plain and simple how it is. But when you feel like you are cared for by yourself, when you are taking the time, making the effort to listen to what your body is telling you, to what your mind is telling you, about what you need to do for you in order to feel good, in order to feel grounded, in order to feel centered and cared for, then when you're doing that, you are automatically in a much better place to take care of others. And I use this analogy quite a lot. I've mentioned it previously in videos before, where the airline industry has it right. They have it bang on when they say that you should always put your own oxygen mask on first in the case of an emergency, because the simple reasoning is that when you do that yourself, you are breathing, you're able to breathe, so you're able to then help other people around you. And it's not from a position of, screw you, I'm all right, Jack. It's not from that place at all. And so is self-care, mental self-care, being able to just take 10 minutes out of your day to meditate, or to close your eyes and focus on what it is you want. And there's a really awesome practice which I'm going to be doing a little video sequence about, where I'm going to take you through what I do every day, which is a practice of meditation, but at the same time asking empowering questions, okay, which create a sense of almost defense against the world, a defense against all the shit that's going on in the world and you know, in our societies, because I'm looked after, because it gives me that feeling where I get up and I'm looked after. I had the worst night's sleep in history last night. You may not know it to look at me right now, or you may, it depends, I don't know how I come across, but I had the worst night's sleep in history. It took me easily 3 hours to even get to the point where I was asleep. And even then, it didn't last long. And I woke up and I was tossing and turning and I was struggling. But because I went through my routine this morning, where I just sat, I looked out of my window, I could see the wind blowing through the trees and I could hear the sheep in the field and I could hear the birds singing as well. And it's just such a breath of fresh air to be able to just chill out, to be able to just let my mind go and just sit there with my eyes closed, working through my empowerment questions, my self-care questions in a way. But they serve two purposes, because they're not affirmations, although they might seem that way when I share them with you in the following video. But just know that they're not affirmations. It's not trying to convince yourself of something, because if you try and tell yourself, I am surrounded by love and people who care for me, and there's always that voice in the back of your head that's going to turn around and say, yeah, no, you're not. Okay? Or from a financial point of view, I am a master of my finances. I can make money easily and I can save it and spend it wisely. Yeah, no. And you always have that when you try affirmations. I'm not sure whether you find that, but if you have a voice in your head that's currently telling you, I don't have that, that's the voice, right? That's the voice. The voice that's saying, no, that's not me, that's not me at all. That's the voice, okay? And not just for this scenario and for this next video that I'm going to be recording later today, but for everything you do, which requires you to self-reflect, which requires you to tap into that inner wisdom. That is where that voice is. But it has two sides. It's like a coin, it has two sides. There's a negative side, which will be, no, you're not like that at all. Or you really can't do this. Or are you sure that's wise? Where there's a more empowering, positive voice too. There's a powerful side to it, which often goes unheard because the volume is turned right down for most people. The volume on the negative aspect is jacked right up. But the volume on the positive aspect, the one that supports us in what we do, the one that supports us in our life, tends to be turned right down. And that's not good. So what we're going to focus on is we're going to get to a situation where I'm going to share with you my process, my experience, my routine, if you like, in the morning, where I just ask a series of wonderful questions which, you know, pose the question to the universe. So for the sake of finances, this isn't my exact question, but you might ask a question of the universe in your morning ritual, your morning routine, where, why am I so good? And so why is it so easy for me to make money, to save it, to invest it wisely, to spend it only on those things that help promote the life that I want to live, right? So, and it's important to realize that powerful questions lead to powerful shifts and changes. It won't happen overnight. If it does, you're very, very lucky, and you're in a very small percentage of the population that can do this. But over time and with practice, you'll notice that after about a week of doing this diligently every single day, you will find that your behaviors and your feelings and your thoughts about certain things will change. They'll begin to shift. You'll begin to notice the difference. And that is important, to give it time. So when you give it time and you work with this for a while, what you get to do is you get to create a scenario where you are caring for yourself in the best way possible, because you are promoting your own internal support mechanism. You are promoting your own fan club almost in your head. And at the end of the day, of all the conversations that we have in the world around us and with other people, the most important conversations you'll ever have is the conversation that you have with yourself. Now, positive or negative, it will always be the most important conversation you have. Because what happens is that we validate ourselves. Our subconscious brain, our subconscious mind, if we start to question something and we start to believe a certain way, then we will look for, our subconscious will go on a trip. It will just basically go on a search for any information, any resources, any meetings, any people that come across our path or into our sphere of awareness that can help us, or that can help our brain then to validate what it's thinking. So if you're thinking that you're good with money, you're thinking that you're great at making money, it's going to look for ways that you can be, so that it will not only reinforce the belief that you're great with money and great at making money, but it will also find any information and resources and chance meetings that will actually help you to become great at making money. So if you are asking the question of the universe, why is it so easy for me to create income streams? Why is it so easy for me to create sources of income that require little or no effort and that come to me naturally? That question will create a set of circumstances. It will create an environment in your brain, in your mind, where your subconscious is going to go away and find all manner of ways, all manner of opportunities where you can make money in a way that fits in with your values, your highest values, your beliefs about yourself and the world, and your mental construct of your version of reality and how you want reality to be for you. If you remember, we talked about that in a previous video too. So it is important to realize that all of this stems from that one belief that you need to nail, and that one thing you need to know and really buy into, really embrace it and hold on to it, because it is the most crucial thing when we're talking about any kind of life transformation, life change, or success and personal achievement, or business achievement even. It's more so the case in business, arguably, or it's equally the case rather, because if you are an entrepreneur, if you set out to start your own business, you are the business, right? Until you reach a point where you are hiring people to make the decisions and you're just a figurehead, you are the business. So if you let your guard down and you are not taking care of you, then not only will your life suffer as a result, because you'll not be able to look after the people around you. You'll not be in a fit state to look after the people around you and to make the changes that you need to make in the world for your own personal sense of commitment and contribution to the world. Okay, so if you have this big sense of, I want to contribute massively to the world, if you're not looking after you first, if you're not taking care of yourself, then there's no way you're in a position or a fit state to be able to contribute to the degree. You may still be able to, but to the degree that you want to, no chance. If you're not looking after you, then there's a massive sense of incongruence that happens in the brain, and it's the incongruence that kills everything. Right, every ambitious plan you've ever had, every sense of defeat or failure you've ever experienced, because you've gone to try this new wonderful thing. I want to start a business doing this because, I'm so awesome. If you're believing that you're awesome at something, if you are trying to convince yourself that you're so awesome at something, but there's that voice in your head that's saying, no, you're really not, and I can prove it, because it pulls up life experiences that prove that you're not committed enough or that you're not good enough at something. Because, don't get me wrong, that voice in your head is a bastard sometimes, because if it's trying to protect you from something, if you've got this massive fear of failure, and that voice is just trying to protect you from not failing, so it's basically trying to protect you from doing something stupid and failing and feeling bad about it. And that's the thing, and guilt is another killer, because so many times we've got this voice in our head that its sole purpose, it seems, is to make us feel so guilty about something, that we feel so bad that we don't do anything about it. And, it's belief in the concept of you need to look after yourself first in order to look after other people. When you fully believe in that, when you fully embrace that, and you take it on board, then life begins to flow, because you feel cared for, you feel loved, you feel embraced, you feel empowered, you feel invincible in some ways, and that's so awesome. And you feel that to the degree where you can then go into the world, go out into the world, make a massive difference to the people around you, to the immediate people around you, but also the wider world, your society, your community, the society you live in, the country you live in, the world we live in. And the only way you can do that is if you start from the center point, which is you. Because when it comes to care, when it comes to self-care, the clue is in the name. It starts and ends with you. Because when you look after yourself, you're more able to go out into the world in better shape to be able to help it and to be able to promote the change you want to see and that you want to make. And I know there's an element there where it contradicts something that I said in a previous video, or it seems to contradict something I said in a previous video, which is we tend to live in a me-centered universe. And I got that from Sri Kamal Rao, who's a professor who's spoken at so many and run courses at so many of the top universities, including London Business School and Harvard, where he says that we all have this me-centered universe. We're all living from a me-centered universe. And when we realize that we're not the center of the universe, that's when we can affect real change. I agree with that wholeheartedly, and I push that and I promote that fully in everything that I do. But when it comes to the where you start that, how do you get to the point where you realize that? How do you get to the point where you can fully live in a world-centered universe where you are part of a bigger picture and you are there to make a change, you are there to make a difference in that world? The starting point for that is always going to be you. And it's the same with living in the matrix, something else I've talked about a lot, which is the matrix is the reality that we think is so real, that we're living in, that a lot of us and a lot of people in the world these days, unfortunately, they buy into the theory that the matrix is right, the matrix is real. But it's really not. We get to choose to create the reality we want to be true for us. And that's where we get onto the subject of mental constructs, or as Rao puts it, mental models. And it's all interlinked. So in order to be able to create the right mental models, to create the right mental construct of the reality we want to live, you need to focus on you. You need to look after you so that you're in the best physical shape, you're in the best emotional shape and the best mental shape possible to go out into the world and to not only make your outcomes a reality, and not only nail those objectives and those projects that will get you the outcomes that you want, but also to affect the change you want to see in the world. So you want to make a difference in certain sections of a community, then great. But look after yourself first. Make sure you're in a position where you are able to care and do as much as humanly possible to make that difference. Because you'll find it so much easier when you look after you first. It's not selfish. Self-care is not selfish. Self-care is the most selfless thing you can do. Okay. Now, any description with the word self in always throws up flags for some people because, oh, that's selfish. I'm not selfish. It's not selfish to look after you. It's not selfish to make sure that you are in as fit a place as possible, both physically, mentally, and emotionally, and spiritually, if that's your thing. To be able to make a bigger difference, to be able to make as big a difference and transformation as possible, not only in your own life, and as a knock-on effect, all the lives of the people around you, but in the world at large. Because when you nail self-care, when you have self-care as your priority, you are in so much better a position to be able to encourage people and inform people and inspire people around you and in community at large to go ahead and do the same. Because when we're in a situation where we're good, where we're feeling so good, we are feeling so good physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and we have that strength of self-awareness, we have that strength of self-calm, self-awareness, self-realization, that we can go out and make all the changes that we want effortlessly. It becomes so easy, and flow, it becomes our natural state. So I'm sure you've heard a lot and you've seen a lot of videos or you've read a lot of books that say about the flow state. And it's not something that some people have access to and others just don't or never will. That's nonsense. What happens with flow is the fact that it finds you when you are living it. That's the paradox. It's the fact that in order to experience the flow state, you have to live it. So you have to live as though everything happens effortlessly for you. You have to live as though you are a master of your own destiny. Because we really are. And it starts with you, and it starts with self-care. So I want to leave you with a big question, massive question, and it's one single question that can change the course of your life. And can change the course of your life by changing the course of today for you, right? And it starts with you, and it starts one day at a time. So I want you to think about this simple question, really basic. Go ahead, spend time thinking about it. Give yourself a 20-minute window, at the least 20 minutes, to just sit quietly, turn off all distractions, and just sit with this question. What is the one thing I can do for me today to ensure that I am able to then not only care for myself, but to look after people around me and inspire and motivate the people around me? So what is the one thing I can do today to care for myself, which will then, as a wonderful side effect, allow me to inspire and motivate other people around me to do the same and change the world? Okay, sounds like a really bold question about changing the world, but when you ask yourself that question, so what is the one thing that I can do today to care for myself, and as a result, inspire and motivate others to do the same, and collectively change the world? Okay, sounds like a big question. It really isn't. Sit with it, 20 minutes minimum. Just be quiet. I'm not telling you, I'm not instructing you to be quiet. I'm just saying that find a time today. You could do it right now. Switch this, when the video finishes, switch off your phone, switch off the computer, however you're watching this, reading. So however you're watching this, once you've finished, switch off the device, spend 20 minutes in complete quiet. Listen to your environment. Embrace your environment. Don't let the thoughts run away with you. Just let go of your conscious mind. Just let it drift away. And just sit with a question. What is the one thing I can do today to look after myself that will inspire and motivate other people to do the same? And then collectively we can change the world. Okay, I hope this video has been useful. Really do encourage you to go away and do that exercise and answer that question and sit with that question. You don't have to, it's not a physical exercise where you have to get a notepad and pen and every time an answer comes to you, blah, 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 blah. You don't need to do that. This big myth that you have to have your head down writing notes whenever you see a presentation or watch a video, really don't. Because if you just sit there in a sense of self-calm, self-awareness and self-care, everything that you need to learn, you will learn. Your subconscious is a wonderful thing that way. So once you let go of trying to grasp onto things, it will naturally flow to you. So I do really encourage you to sit with that question, at least 20 minutes, somewhere quiet, switch off all distractions. If you're with other people, tell them you just don't want to be disturbed for 20 minutes. Then sit with that and just see what you come up with. See how you come out the other side. See how you feel. Okay, so with that said, what I do also encourage you to do is subscribe to the channel. More great content every single week. 2 or 3 times a week I try to post. Some weeks it will be every day because I'll have something important to say every single day and a message that I want to share. So yeah, some days it'll be every day, but other weeks it might be 2 to 3 times. Okay, I try and post as often as possible, but I've got other things going on as well, other channels, other projects I'm working on. It's not that my focus is distracted, it's just that I want to make a difference to as many people as possible. And in some cases, it requires a very specific singular focus. For example, my fiance and I are working on a project jointly together, which is about to kick off, called Ladies First, which is a channel that, from the sound of it, might sound dedicated to women, but it's really not. It's about empowering women. It's about sending the message to women that they deserve more. If they are in a situation more relationship focused, if they're in a situation where they feel that they're not listened to, that they're not heard, and they're not supported in their life by their partner, then it's the message that they really need to focus more on their own self-care. And that's going to be the first project on the channel, the first video on the channel. It's going to be an extension of this one. And yeah, I'm really passionate about that project, as I am this Inspired Life and my other channel, which is called Soundly Sleeping, which is all about sleep and relaxation and helping people to cope. And I mentioned earlier that I had the worst night's sleep ever until I put my video on. My last video that I put up on Soundly Sleeping did the trick. It was like fucking awesome. Out I went. But it's such a great gift to be able to have the insights, to be able to have the experience, and more importantly, to share it. And I'm so proud of myself, and I'm so pleased with my approach to all of these projects, is the fact that I'm not letting it distract me. I'm not letting one pull distract me from the other. They all work in tandem. They all work together. So I'm really encouraging you, again, to sit with that exercise, to sit with that question about self-care. What are you doing today? Or what can you do today, right now, to care for yourself? And as a result, inspire and motivate and encourage other people to do the same. And then that way we'll collectively change the world. So I'm going to leave it there. Click the like button, subscribe to the channel. More great content coming very, very soon. As I say, I'm working on a video today. A bit later on, I'll put another video up, which will cover I'll go into detail on what I do personally every morning and the type of questions that I ask and the type of areas that I focus on. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to leave it here. I've waffled on a little bit towards the end, but the message is clear. Self-love is self-care, and self-love are not selfish. It's the least selfish thing, the most selfless thing you can do is to look after yourself with the intention of being able to care for other people more and to be able to care for other people in a healthier way. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking with me to the end. I really do encourage you again to go away and just sit for 20 minutes with that question. What can you do today to look after yourself? With a result, with the side effect of allowing other people and giving them permission, inspiring them and motivating them to do the same. Because it's that is the way that collectively we will change things in the world. So I'm going to leave it there this time. I've said that 3 times now, I think, but I really am going to leave it there. Thank you for watching. I hope you can join me again in the next one. Like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you again very soon.